Welcome to the Roost Podcast, brought to you by Buckeye Bowhunter. And now, your host, Josh Grund.
I think it's supposed to be a west wind all weekend, but it'll probably be swirly. Yeah, it probably will. We'll see, though. What is going on, guys? It is Josh here with Buckeye Bowhunter, and I got John Shiner here with me tonight. Bryce could not make it, unfortunately. He's having a whole bunch of technical difficulties, and that's part of the problem with doing a podcast virtually like we do. He's getting them sorted out, and hopefully he'll be along for the ride on the next one. But until then, me and John are going to kind of roll with this and talk about opening weekend a little bit. We had some pretty crazy escapades happen opening weekend. And yeah, John, what's going on, man?
Well, nothing much. Like you said, still dwelling over opening weekend. It was awesome. It was fun. I feel good that we got out, did a little hunting, did a little shooting. No, it was good overall. Excited to see what's in the future. The season's going to be killer. It's going to be fun, but overall doing pretty good.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I know you were having some bow problems. I know we talked about how you had them all fixed or something last time me and you had a podcast because we thought we had them fixed.
We did.
And you went back and shot, and it wasn't quite what we thought it was. You ended up making the drive down to that Miller's Gun Supply and getting that all straight out. You feeling pretty confident with your bow now?
Yeah, definitely. I think where we left off last time, we were going to go do a 3D shoot.
Yeah.
And we did that, and just everything was... I know.
Oh, yeah. You showed up and you were shooting everything high.
Everything was really high, and it just didn't feel right. And then the fletchings were hitting the riser. So, we put new fletchings on, and they were white. And, after we shot for a while, we noticed that, some of the veins were getting scuffed. So it prompted me to not feel the greatest amount of confidence, even though I was shooting okay, but yeah, took it into an archery shop, started from ground zero, built it back up, shooting pretty good now. But we went out, kind of diving into opening weekend. I'll just transition into that.
Sure.
We got there early, and I built a nice little archery, stand where we can hang a bag and set up our foam targets to shoot broadheads, and we were shooting good. I was happy with the way I was shooting. The only thing was I was shooting maybe 2 inches high at like 20 yards. So, instead of it sinking bullseye every time, I was, top of the little circle.
Yeah.
It was like 2 inches high. So I guess in my mind, we went out hunting, and I'm like, hey, if it's 20, 24 yards and in, just aim low. The goal is to always shoot, at the heart. I know we were joking around.
Armpits all day.
Armpits all day, use that mantra, just aim for the armpit and all should be well.
Well, before you get too far down the story, I know it was really warm opening weekend. It's what is it today? The 6th. So opening weekend was just about a week ago now. We're going to get a lot better weather this weekend. So I'm kind of excited to be in the woods this weekend, but neither of us hunted opening morning just because it was warm. And didn't we have like east winds?
Yeah.
Yeah. East winds. None of the properties I hunt are good for an east wind. Like there's not I got a couple places, but in those places, I know there are some decent bucks, but I don't have any like real good photos or intel on them. So it's been 10 years since I missed an opening morning. And this is the first year I didn't go, man. And it felt weird waking up knowing that I could have been bow hunting, but I'm going to try to be a lot smarter. Like I think last year in the past, I would have just gone somewhere and, you know, I would have sat somewhere where the wind was good, but just that presence and being in there is kind of pointless is the way I see it now. Like, why not be smarter about when you go? So anyways, so I didn't hunt opening morning. You didn't hunt opening morning. We decided the whole weekend was going to kind of be those east winds, really warm. So let's go have fun up at your camp. So
Yeah, there were a
met.
couple of spots I had in mind, and actually an east wind. We don't get east winds all that often.
No,
I
not
feel
here.
like it's half a dozen times during the season, maybe.
Yep.
And usually, if it's coming off like a storm or something, it's pretty awesome. It's a good day to be out there. But this, opening weekend here wasn't, the temperature didn't change for maybe a week. Mid 70s during the day, dropped down to like 60 at night. The only thing we really had going for us was it was dropping in like the lower 50s.
Yeah.
When we were there. So, it's a little bit of a temperature drop. Not really, but
Not really.
it's enough to get us out there, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think, it's one thing to not, to kind of be smart or whatever, but just not hunting at all opening weekend would have kind of been a bummer. So I'm happy we even got out there. But yeah. So go ahead.
I had a beat on some does, so that was kind of our goal, right? Opening weekend, try and put ourselves in a good position, in case find some sign. I know we talk about that a lot, and that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on this year. Get in the game, and if you don't see the sign, then you may not be hunting.
Keep moving. Yep.
So that was kind of our goal, and we were going to put that into practice this weekend. But yeah, we got down there shooting our bows. I was a little high. You were shooting good. And let's see.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident because since we had that podcast, I switched up my broadheads. When I was in Kentucky, I was shooting those Grim Reapers, just because something was off with my bow a little bit. I was shooting dead nuts with the Grim Reapers, but I would put those iron will broadheads on, and I was just getting kind of erratic flight. I just tweaked my rest I got one of those micro adjustable rests, just 2 clicks, I think, to the right. And all that went away. I put those iron wills on. They're shooting dead nuts with my field points. Like probably the first time in a long time I've had my bow dialed in like that. So I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah, I got those iron wills shooting really good. So I'm feeling pretty confident with those, and I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's a fantastic feeling. But yeah, let's see. So we pulled a couple of camera cards. Didn't like what we saw because I know I've mentioned on the podcast I've got cell cameras in the hard to get to places, but I set up camera cards in the easy to get to places. Because I've got a side by side, we could just cruise a trail real fast, pull right up to it, pull the card, swap cards, and keep going and get out. And that typically works pretty well.
Yeah, that's nice, man. I think that's a really cool tactic, because I remember when we were talking about it, you're like, let's go check cards or whatever. And I'm like, why? Why do you want to do that? It's a terrible idea. Let's go walk around the woods that we're going to hunt in or whatever. And you're like, no, we'll take the thing. And for you guys who have this ability to do this, take your side by side, take your 4-wheeler, leaving it running the whole time you're out walking around or whatever. The first spot we stopped at, we kicked a doe up. She was probably bedded, 30, 40 yards from your side-by-side?
Yeah, and she did not get up.
No, she didn't get up until we like stepped on her almost.
Yeah.
But pretty cool.
So yeah, it works. It works pretty well. And all summer people are riding those things.
Yeah.
And it's just not worth it to the deer to get up and get running, because all summer the ATV runs right by them along the trail.
Well, they get used to it. They haven't, it's not a danger to them.
Right. So yeah, we looked at the cards, didn't like what we saw. So we ended up setting up a set right outside of bedding, to the west of my food plot. So, with the idea in that in the morning, we would walk all the way around the food plot, take the long way around, have the wind blow from the food plot to us into bedding, hoping that we can catch some deer leaving the food plot a little bit late, during daylight, heading back. And we got set up in a hickory tree. It was pretty good, man. Lots of cover and big old hickory leaves. It was a good setup.
I still think that's a permanent setup there, man.
Yeah, it's solid. So we set that up and ended up moving to a different section of the property with the I had wanted to hunt this spot for a little bit, and I haven't scouted it that well over the summer. So really it was twofold. Go in there, find sign, and learn a little bit while I'm going in. And that's what we did. Put the stands on our back, started hiking in. And let's see what we got in, maybe 50 yards into kind of the area I wanted to be. And of course we started jumping deer.
Oh yeah.
Does, smaller buck, little 8-pointer, bumped him right out. But yeah, we headed back quite a ways, and just wasn't seeing the sign that we wanted to see. So kept going. And then we came up to a little rub, we're like, oh, all right, here we go. Now we're into something. And then we look on the other side of the trail. There's another rub. Okay. Now we're into something. Trail's beat down, got some rubs. I think you pulled out your binoculars and looked up the trail. You're like, yep, there's another one up there. Okay. We've got enough. Right.
Yeah. Well, what really sold it to me was, so we're walking down this big like old tractor path, 4-wheeler logging path, whatever you want to call it. And there's a giant swamp to our left, the whole walk in.
So that would be to the
west.
Drops
down, to the west. And it gets real thick along the edges and grassy and tall and brushy. And then it kind of like opens up into like open marshy stuff after a while. And it's kind of like that the whole length of the whole swamp. But then right in this area where we started running into rubs and some good buck sign, you could tell looking at Onyx, maybe 150 yards up ahead of us, that swamp kind of like the thick brushy stuff kind of like creeps out into the swamp and makes like a little pocket or a little island almost, or a point of a thick bedding type material or habitat. It kind of looked like from where we were. And I don't know, have you ever been down in there before?
It's been
a long time. Yeah.
I think that's long, like 15 plus years. Yeah.
So me and John are thinking like, okay, we got this sign here. We got these trails crossing. Like if I was a big buck, that's where I would be bedded. Right. And we ended up setting up.
Felt pretty good. It was a quadruple trunk maple.
Yeah, setting up with
So,
two people. I don't know if, any
tough.
listeners, ever do like double sets or whatever, but it's fun being able, it's opening weekend. We're not taking things too seriously yet. We're not,
Nah.
I mean, if a giant walks in, that'd be awesome. But it's fun to film each other and sit up and be able to talk and whatever the whole time and whisper and whatever, keep each other company while we're hunting. But man, hiding two people in a tree is just difficult, and making sure that each person has like shooting lanes and you're both hidden and the camera can get at all the angles and all that stuff is very difficult. So it always takes us forever to pick a tree and get everything set up, and you feel like the whole woods knows you're there by the time you're done. Um, but uh, but yeah, we got set up. I took the saddle. John had his lone wolf, and we got set up, and we were pretty much like watching that point where we thought that bedding area was the whole night. Right, we were just like kind of staring off in that direction, even though there were some trails off to our right, to the east of us.
Yeah, so we were set up in what we had. I feel like we had 2 hours of daylight left, and we
We
had
had a lot of time.
yeah, we got in there pretty early.
I remember saying I felt like we were late, but I don't know why I said that. I don't think we were that late.
Because it's so early in the season, we're so used to November,
Get dark at
where it gets
5:30.
dark. Yeah, so we had more time than we thought, but
Yeah.
We ended up seeing a big doe cruise a trail to our east, and we were like, okay, whoa, all right, stuff's up, stuff's starting to happen, move around.
Now, what are the odds you think that was one of the does that we bumped out by your food plot? Because those what we were talking about earlier, those deer that we bumped were 50 yards in the woods, 200 yards off your food plot.
Yeah.
Two does and a buck, I think we bumped.
Yeah.
But
it's a good possibility that we just bumped them and they never got comfortable enough to lay back down, and just made a big
kind of looping around. Yeah.
But yeah, we saw her, and then I don't know, what was it?
It's like 10 minutes later. Didn't she come back, or an hour later or something?
Yeah,
she came
it was
back
like a half hour later. She came back on the same trail she came, and came back from where she came from.
Yeah.
So I think it was like an hour before dark. You always kind of get excited and you're like, okay, magic hour. It's time to put your game face on. Last hour of light. Stay focused. Get off your phone.
Yeah.
Eyes on a swivel. It's game time. So I guess the best way to explain this would be there's 4 trunks. I was on one. I think you were on the same one, right? But you're above me.
No, I was on one over, and I was above you.
So we were on 2.
I might have been on the same one as you. You're right. I think I originally was going to. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
But I had another trunk directly in front of me, where I hung my bow off of. So I was like sitting in that direction. That would be facing north. And I caught movement around the side of the trunk, peeked around. Okay, big doe heading our way. Turn the camera on. And she walked over this knoll heading right at us. Dropped down off the knoll. She went behind the tree. I drew. She wasn't moving fast. She was just casually walking, and she literally walks 2 yards underneath us. And I'm full drawn, and I draw back on her, and it's like a 2-yard shot, which is doable. But I think I made a mistake. I didn't practice it enough this summer, even though we talked about it, right? So I drew on her, and I was trying to settle the pin and get comfortable, and I just didn't feel good about it. And I think, hindsight's 2020, and we look back, and I don't think I was hinging at my waist enough. I was using my shoulders to aim down versus hinging at my waist and getting my chest
You're just
out in front
dropping
of
your
me.
arm.
I was just dropping my
dropping.
arm, and it was uncomfortable. I couldn't get it wasn't the right shot, so I didn't shoot. But I didn't let down either. So she's at 2 yards, and she hits our ground scent, and full alert.
Pinwheels. Yeah.
Pinwheels around, bounds, 2 hard bounds away from us. She's out at maybe 20 to 23 yards away. Full alert, looking up in the trees, scanning the trees, trying to find us. So I go from fully drawn down to pulling up and setting my pin on her. And I felt like she was a little bit quartering too, from my perspective. Not a lot. So I just settled the pin on her. It's everything's so split second, no time to think. She's bounded, she's alert. You have seconds to make the decision. But 20 yards is good. That's in the wheelhouse. So settled the pin, put it right on her front shoulder. Not our mantra, but I put it on her front shoulder and let the arrow fly. And whap! Hit her. She crumbles and kind of barrel rolls away from, where we were at. And I think we both knew as soon as she fell straight down that the shot was high.
Yeah.
Shot was high. I think we both saw it. So she crumbles, rolls away from us, stumbles, and, you could see she does not have coordination. She's just, flailing to get away, kind of tumbling, rolling on the ground. I immediately grab another arrow, knock it, and get ready to draw on her again, hoping that she'll stop for a second so I could shoot her again. She does not present this opportunity, and, she kind of regains her footing and bounds away.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Not how you draw it up.
Well, I didn't think she was going to get up after you shot her. So your shot was high enough. I thought you just got her right in the spine, the way she dropped and the way she was kind of spinning and she couldn't get her legs under her. I thought she wasn't going anywhere. And when she got up, I was like, what in the world is happening right now? And then she kind of just ran right to the edge of the swamp and then stopped and stood there for a little bit.
Stood there and then disappeared.
Yeah. Well, yep. I looked away for like 3 seconds and I looked back and I'm like, she's gone. She must have just ducked right into the weeds. But
yeah, not good. A little bit heartbreaking.
But
there was still hope. We had some adrenaline going, but I think what took our attention away was a buck came following up the trail right after.
Yeah, literally.
And we're like, oh, there's a buck behind us. Action again. It seems to always happen that way. But he wasn't he was a smaller 8-point.
Yeah, he was probably a 2.5-year-old little 8-pointer, but it was cool, man, watching him. And it's so interesting because he came in right underneath us, came around, walked downwind of us one time, turned around, came back, walked downwind of us again, walked down into that bedding area where that doe was, turned around, came back down again. Never even gave you the slightest hint that he knew something was up. Where that older doe you shot at, caught one whiff of us and was gone. And I remember that's what we were talking about was like scent control and how much I just, not to go on a tangent, how much I quit believing in any of it. I don't use any kind of scent control. I don't use any kind of sprays. I don't use any kind of washing my clothes special. Like, I don't wash my clothes in Tide, fresh scent
So I
or
think
whatever. But
there's levels to scent. Okay, you're
yeah,
never gonna be scent free, and I honestly believe this. You can do certain things to help, um, but there are levels. You can be clean, and not stink. I think that's kind of the goal, in my mind, anyways. I can do everything I can, but to be perfect is unrealistic. I'm not going to go fry bacon in my hunting clothes and walk out
yeah.
stinking like fried bacon. However, I will wash my clothes if they smell bad. You want to smell, not have an odor. You're
Well,
not going to be scent free.
how do I
Does that
like
make
the
is that
way
you don't want to stink, but you're never going to be scent free.
the way I the way I think about it? I think a deer knows the difference between, you can see it on your trail cameras, right? The difference between when a
Sure.
deer, if you walk in your tree stand and you just crossed that field 10 minutes ago and he crosses your path, and I've seen deer hit that like it's a brick wall and do a freaking cartwheel and take off back the other way they came, as opposed to, I've seen pictures where I'll put a trail camera out and, you know, 8 hours later, a deer will come through and you can tell that deer knows something's up and smells that something was there. But I think they
Yeah.
know the difference between there's something here now or something just came through and something was here 6 hours ago. So I'm going to put that in my memory bank, but it's not a direct threat to me immediately. Now, is doing some kind of scent control work or whatever tricking a deer? Like, I don't think you'll ever get to a point where if you're in a tree stand and a deer's downwind of you, I don't care what you do, that deer's going to smell you. Now, is there a certain amount of scent control you can do where that deer thinks that, oh, something, that person was there hours ago and I'm not worried about it? Or as opposed to getting hit in the face with a bunch of BO and, you haven't washed your clothes in 3 weeks. Like, I don't know. I don't tend to think so. I think if you get caught in a tree, it don't matter. Like, I've had deer bust me, and I think it really comes down to the individual deer. Like, like what we saw this weekend. That doe is an older, mature doe. She's seen it, she's done it, she's been through the ringer. She got a whiff of us and she was gone.
So,
Where
and to be clear, she did not smell our wind, because we had a good wind on her.
yeah, that's true.
She
She
smelled
smelled where we
our
walked.
boots.
Yeah,
She smelled our boots when we walked in.
exactly. Um, where that little buck, who's a 2.5-year-old buck, he was downwind of us 3 or 4 times, never even knew it. And I think some hunters see that and they think, if they do all their scent control and all that stuff, and then say just that little buck came through that night and they think they got away with it, all of a sudden,
My
scent
scent
control
control
is
worked.
king. It's amazing. Yeah, it works so great, blah, blah, blah. Where I don't think so. I think it's so, um, you can fall into these traps because, you see videos and stuff of them drifting milkweed past a deer's nose using an ozonics and all that stuff. And, you know, I just, I know you use the ozonics, John, and it may work. It may help. I have no idea. I know the science behind it is interesting. Um, but I know it's also an expensive piece of equipment too.
Sure.
Um,
And it's heavy.
and it's heavy. Yeah, I know. You always, every time we go hunting together, you're like, should I bring it? I'm like, yeah, why not? Might as well. I think something like that. It's like your scent's going downwind anyways. Like, why not throw something on top of it and
Why
see
not
if it
try and
helps at
help?
all?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't see anything wrong with that. The issue I have with scent control is just how much time it takes for
The effort. Yeah.
very little reward in my experience. I just don't think it's worth spending. Dude, I used to I would wash the dryer before I dried my clothes and clean and spray it out. And I'd have to do a load of like laundry without my hunting clothes in it to clean the scent from, the regular washing machine stuff. And then it was like rubber gloves to your tote so bacteria wouldn't grow from your sweat on your hands while it's in the tote. And it's too much work, man. Too much work. I'm washing my clothes that much during deer season. Like, the only thing I'm washing is my underwear and my undergarments. I'm not washing my jackets and my pants that often. Like, it's too much work, man. But to each his own. I mean, some guys do it. You look at that John Eberhart guy. He is a scent control nut, and he swears it works. And, I think hunting 30 foot high the way he does probably has something to do with it, but
that helps.
Yeah. But anyways, not to go off on that tangent, but it was just interesting seeing two different deer walk downwind of us, cross our tracks, and
one
two very different results. Yeah. So just something for people to think about.
No, definitely. I think that's a fantastic topic to cover because, it is a little bit controversial, but everybody thinks about it,
Yep.
But yeah, no, bad, I wouldn't say, our initial reaction was that it was a terrible shot because I don't know that it was. I think me shooting prior to walking in the woods, knowing that I was a hair high, that needed to be compensated for. And when it came down to the rubber meeting the road, I didn't, I put it directly on her. And that's a mistake on my part. Lesson learned. Didn't follow my mantra, I didn't, I didn't put it right in her armpit. I played it safe and put it right center mass.
Well, when we looked at the video afterwards too, she ducked a lot when you shot.
She did. So she ducked the arrow as well. So compounding the high shot. Just the two factors of being a touch high on my aim and her ducking, probably added up to 4 inches. And that's, I think after looking at the video, I think we're going to post something on YouTube so everybody can get on the YouTube and see what they think.
That'll be
I'd love to hear what other people think, how she, what kind of a shot it was. So obviously we didn't cut the spinal cord. Otherwise, she couldn't get away. But,
I still thought you may have gotten lung too because of the angle. We were thinking maybe angle. You got, because the base of that tree was up on a mound and she was down like below the base of the tree. Feet. Yeah. So like, we're 18 feet. So she's almost, 24, 26 feet below us at 20 yards. That's a steep shot. And I thought, maybe you got top of the opposite lung going through her, but I don't know. It looked like in the video when we put it on the computer back at the, we waited till it got dark, climbed out of there, super quiet, left the tree stands up. We didn't want to make any noise.
In case she laid down, there was no way we wanted to jump her, so left everything.
Left everything, snuck out of there, went back to the cabin, put the video up on the computer so we could see it real well. And, the shot looked bad. It was like forward high, right?
Yeah.
But there was like a lot of blood coming out of her at one point when she was like kind of running away. It almost looked like it was like pumping out of her, which was, that kind of had me like, oh, you got lung or you got an artery or something. Because there is an artery that runs up through there below the spine, towards the neck. But anyways.
Yeah, so it was like I think we came up with a 50-50 chance of recovery. Um, we were banking on that artery. Um, you know, I think it was too high for the front lung. I don't think there's any way that we hit the front lung. There's no chance. It's a smaller percentage on the back lung, but hoping that we possibly cut that artery, in which that's a fatality, and waiting a couple hours, we should have no problem getting in there and getting her. I think also, with the shot and what we know about the anatomy, and if we did hit that artery, we should find her within 100 yards. Um,
Yeah, I think after
you
2
know,
hours, she's either dead or she's not gonna die
yeah, exactly.
with where you
Yep.
shot. Yeah.
Yep. Either she was going to be done, we were going to find her, as long as we could follow the trail of blood, or she went through no man's land and she's gonna keep going. And so yeah, we went back in. We went back in a couple hours later in the dark, found my arrow.
Snapped off.
Snapped off. Really fatty tissue on the arrow. Blood, of course. And we followed the blood trail, and there were sections of blood that looked pretty good, and there were some bubbles in it. So we had high hopes to start, and we kept tracking her. It wasn't a super difficult track. We had sections where we had to slow way down, but yeah, we tracked her, and we were diligent and slow, and marked our blood and looked at every piece, and there was, it was red, but it had bubbles. So the bubbles gave us hope, but it was very red. It
Some
wasn't
bubbles.
that
And I think so. A lot of times you can get bubbles in the blood
in
just
muscle.
from it. Yeah, just from it like hitting the air and falling through the air and landing on the ground. You can end up getting those kind of bubbles, I think. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I have a lot of experience with that no man's land hit. There's video on my YouTube from a buck I shot at probably 7, 8 years ago, and I hit him directly above the lungs, below the spine, and he,
Similar shot placement for sure.
yep. And as soon as we saw that blood, like I didn't want to say it, but I was like, just
Not
because
good.
lung blood is like pink and frothy. It's like
Yes. Yeah.
bubbles. It's not like those kind of bubbles.
Yeah.
And you'll see them if you watch the YouTube video coming out here soon. But like, yeah, that buck I shot, he bled like crazy for 100, 150 yards, and then it just stopped, and I ended up kicking that buck up at, 8 hours after I shot him. But anyways, so we started tracking. Like you said, it looked pretty good. She had gone down into the swamp and into, like, it was some tall grass, so it was kind of easy to find. She wasn't spraying or anything, and it wasn't like pumping out of
No.
her, but she was like rubbing her body against all this grass. So like, I mean, it was pretty easy to find blood for most of the track for the first, 100 yards, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah. And we kept going and going and going, and she ended up jumping a creek.
Yeah.
So we had to do a little navigation,
Like an
because
8 foot
we were
wide
getting
creek.
across 8 foot, and she bounded over it. It was probably a foot and a half deep of water,
Yeah.
and who knows how deep the mud was. I know we were not going to venture across.
You wouldn't have gotten out of there that night, man.
I'd have lost a boot or two for sure.
Yep.
But we navigated around and found the blood on the other side, and we kept going. But kind of a similar situation to that buck that you had shot. We ended up losing blood.
Yeah, I'd say it was probably
did some
200
concentric.
yards. 200 yards from where you
Yeah,
shot
at
her.
least. Yeah. Yep. Did some concentric circles, no blood. We just ran out, and it wasn't, the trail kind of opened up when we lost it. So she had opportunities to go, east, northeast, north, west. We didn't have terrain that we're like, okay, she's definitely heading
Well,
downhill
that's
or
what we didn't
on the side of
say.
this, or
Yeah, that's what we didn't say is that when we were getting good blood and tracking her quickly, kind of, she really didn't have anywhere to go but the trail we were on. It was like
yeah,
thick as
it was like
thieves. So it was like
6 foot grass, briars, the very super defined trail.
yeah, unless she dove off to the side and buried herself. Like I know you kept saying, like, keep looking over to the
We
side
have,
or whatever.
yep, yep. When they
Um,
come to like their last bit of life, they may just bound off the trail and cannonball into whatever. So you
yeah,
always want to keep that in mind when you lose blood. It may be the end of the line.
yeah,
And they bound off the trail.
but we didn't find her.
That was not the case.
No. So, yeah, we looked and looked and looked and, yeah, man, I think, like that arrow went all the way through her. And honestly, like that buck that I shot, I got pictures of him 2 weeks later. And I don't know if he had a long, healthy life after that, because I don't know if I've ever seen him again since then. But, I would almost bet that, because I think we kicked a deer up down in there too, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
Maybe, we can't say for sure if it was her or not. There were so many tracks down there.
Yeah. But if it was her, I'm saying that at that point, that was 4.5, 5 hours after you shot her. I'm thinking she's probably not going to die. It's not a gut shot. It's not something you wait 12 hours and you'll find them dead no matter what. It's like, it's just a flesh wound, as Will Ferrell would say.
Right.
She'll probably live through the season with it. You may get a second shot at her, man.
That would be good. I know, from all this happening, I'm not discouraged. I know we talked about it.
You were in pretty good spirits.
On the last podcast. It's something that I feel strongly about, to get out there. And if you have an opportunity at a doe, take it. It was a huge learning lesson for me, knowing, under duress, I got to either shoot low or I got to change, my scale on my bow.
Well, this is what I
say those 2 inches.
This is what I talked about.
There's something I learned and took away from, this whole situation that, I would be heartbroken right now, and I'm not going to, sugarcoat it. I would be heartbroken right now if that was, a huge buck. I don't feel good about it, but
yeah,
I never want to wound anything. I still think about it and I feel bad. But this is honing my skills.
It's part of deer hunting, man. Yeah, it's part of archery for sure.
And that's, I know I harped on it last podcast, but you got to kick the rust off. You do. And I feel, given the opportunity next time I go out, and that is another deer, I'm gonna hammer it home on the next one for sure.
Good. But yeah, that's what I was talking about. How my season went last year, John, was all the shots that I took were like, I just always felt like they were very rushed. And I think it's like, like I'm the worst at it, of like in that moment when you're under duress, not making good decisions and just like blacking out and just, hope it works, cause it's worked before. Right. Yeah, like being able to settle, and like I said, I'm not good at it at all. It's my goal to get a little bit better at that every year and hopefully, master it one day maybe, but like what they say to get to slow that moment down so that it's not happening so fast is to make sure you are falling into that mantra. Whatever mantra it is, if it's armpits all day or if it's aim, 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 or whatever helps you go through your shot process, and make sure you don't release that arrow until you're finished with that process and that mantra, and kind of keeping that in your mind the whole time is the way to do that. But I've never been successful at that. It's like, there's a deer, oh crap.
No, it's tough.
So it's tough, man. It's tough. I know. People can sit here all day and be like, oh, what a, if they watch this video, oh, what a bad shot. I'd never do that. Or, who would show that on YouTube or whatever, but it's like, everybody's done it. If you haven't, you're probably going to, or you're lying about it. Like it's part of archery. It's an ugly truth. It's something that, as a hunter, I don't like to talk about. I don't like to show it. It's, it's sad. It's embarrassing, whatever. I don't like to talk about it
by any means.
I don't like to talk about it with people who don't hunt, because I feel like it makes us look bad as hunters. Like we're just out there wounding deer all the time. But like, it's part of it. It's an unfortunate thing, but how else are you going to get good at it besides shooting at deer and making mistakes and learning from them?
Yep, exactly right. I can spend all summer, it's not for lack of practice or effort.
Yeah.
I could shoot those 3D targets all day long, burying it home.
Yeah.
It's just not the real thing. I can have my, bag target and put field points on and just bury bullseyes. Yeah, it's honing my gear, but in the end, it's me.
Yep.
And it's a live animal.
And
if they're alert, and they're on you have to compensate. You have to shoot enough deer to learn what you can and can't get away with.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. But yeah, so unfortunately, we did not find your doe.
But yeah, that concluded our opening day extravaganza.
Just to kind of finish up the podcast here, I'm sure this podcast probably won't air before this weekend happens. Maybe I'll post it Sunday afternoon. But this weekend's supposed to be really good. So me and John have both in the past had some insane luck, some insane, awesome hunts on weekends, on days just like what's coming up this Friday and Saturday, where it's been stagnant, it's been 80s, no rain, no nothing, no weather. And now it's going to be a high of 53, dude.
And it was 80 today.
Yeah. So it's been raining.
In 3 days, it's going to drop over 30 degrees.
Yes. If you're a bow hunter, that's like almost as good. I would probably take this over the rut. The first cold front in October, give me that over November 3rd or November 5th. I'll take this. Because I got a feeling it's going to be an awesome weekend, but you got to be in the right spot.
You'll be in the right spot. There has to be bucks there.
Yeah.
I know. Oh, but you're right. I have a fantastic encounter story. You've got a bunch. You got one behind you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which big boy behind you did you kill on the first cold front?
This one right here.
Yeah, and acorns, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty good weekend. It's been raining all day. It's supposed to rain all morning tomorrow. That's another thing too. Even if it was warm out and it rained all day and then the rain stops about 3-4 o'clock, I think you get really good movement. So that's coinciding with a 25-degree temperature drop. So I think it's going to be on fire, hopefully. I just have to figure out where I want to go because I don't have any consistent pictures, any consistent movement. So I think what I'm going to do is do what me and you did, where I'm going to pick a farm and I'm just going to have to be decisive and walk in until I find something that trips my trigger and set up.
Yes. I love it, Josh. That's the move.
That's what I'm going to do.
Don't just pick a spot because it was good before or you think it'll be good. No, go find it.
So I got the back 40, which I've had 2 or 3 really good 3-year-olds, and I'm still getting them pictures of them every day, almost, probably 4 times a week. But they're just not deer that I'm like interested in shooting right now. So the only bucks that I got on camera that I'm like shooter all day, opening morning of deer season, that deer's getting dropped, is on the Frank farm. But my pictures are very sporadic and random of these bucks. So I got a feeling they're not where I think they are. So I'm just going to have to go find them. So I think tomorrow evening will be a good time to get in the woods. You know, it's good when this cold front's happening because it's not on a morning hunt, you know, where you're just kind of going in based on like previous intel or whatever. Like I'll be able to walk in at 3:00 on Friday afternoon and kind of scout my way in and hopefully put myself in a good position. But yeah, I'm excited. So hopefully if you guys are listening to this now, buddy. Yeah, if you guys are listening to this now, hopefully you guys had some luck over the weekend or had some pretty cool hunts. If so, definitely let us know about it. We'd be interested in hearing about some of your guys' hunting stories for sure. So, but
yeah, I definitely want to, you know, if anybody's interested, you know, watch the YouTube video and love to hear the take on the shot.
Well, be careful what you wish for, man. YouTube gets pretty crazy.
I'll let you read the comments.
Yeah, sure. But all right, guys. Well, John, you got anything else you wanted to cover today, or we'll keep this short? I mean, we're at an hour already.
No, hopefully
these things go so fast.
I'm cheering you on. I'm not going to have the availability to get out. I'll be there in spirit, and I hope to get a call between the hours of 4 and 8 with you shivering in feverish excitement and telling me to get in my truck and bring some flashlights.
That would be pretty cool.
Can you make it happen?
That'd be pretty cool.
I want to do that.
Yeah, we'll see. I hope so. Cross my fingers. So,
because the kids go to bed at 7:30, so I'll be there in an hour.
Oh, I'll wait till dark, man. Don't you worry. But I better knock on wood.
Flashlights.
Yeah, sounds good, man. But all right, well, guys, thank you for joining us again. Thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. We hope you're enjoying the content. We hope you're excited for deer season this year. Hope you guys have some luck and be safe out there. And we will see you all